Dad? Think Home Instead Senior Care Waterford.
Sponsors of the weather on WLR. Homeinstead.ie.
And the weather, it's cloudy across Waterford and the southeast this morning. There's winds of 35 kilometres per hour coming from the northwest, so it's going to feel fairly cold. The chances of rain will increase dramatically from around 1 o'clock on.
Deise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
With thanks to Mulligan's Pharmacy. Over 60 years together, thanks to you.
Now I'm going to try and get Willie dancing here in the studio. How are you, Willie?
Hello, Damien.
Good to see you.
You too.
And we've also got Nigel O'Sullivan. Nigel, how are you?
Good morning, Damien. Thanks for
coming into us. We're going to talk to you now in a second. I want to just continue the sporting theme at the minute. Obviously, we have a major rugby match on at the weekend. We've got football on tonight. We've got Waterford footballers heading up to Sligo. We've got Waterford hurlers playing against Galway. Firstly, a quick clip from Jack Power, who's the owner of Waterford FC, with his father Lee Power, and Alan Reynolds talking the other night about the importance of 24/7 care on the logo on their new jersey.
I think that there were a few stories this evening that were really close to the bone, and that's what gets people involved and gets them stuck in, because it's a really serious matter. And certainly with my family is a perfect example of my granddad. These things really matter, and the South East really needs to push this campaign.
You've been living now in Waterford, coming and going for the last few years, so you understand what it's like.
I do, and I think far more so than my old man, Lee Power. I'm over here. I call myself a Waterford man now. I find myself using the turns of phrases.
You play seven-a-side on a Monday night in Kingfisher.
I played the seven-a-side at Kingfisher. That's it. I'm stuck into the community, and I was trying to say on the podium there, but you can only ever say half the things you want to say when you've everyone looking at you. But we're going to look to do more in the community this year. I think it's really important. The likes of Cork and Bowes do it very well. There's no reason why we can't do the same down here.
And the 24/7 campaign, it's a brave thing for a club, any sporting organisation, to effectively be involved in a political campaign, even though it's not breaching any rules or anything like that. It's a really strong moral issue.
I'd agree with you, and I think that the main thing for us is that the importance of this supersedes any negative judgment. I think the importance completely overrules everything. But I'd also go and say, we're not going to go leading protests and this, that and the other. All we're doing is we're putting the message out there loud and clear on a national basis, and we'll assist in that way.
Will all the players be wearing their hand on heart for the year?
I'd like to think so, and like Alan,
it'll help inspire the club as well.
It will, of course, and it's great to have a few of the local boys back. Another one announced, obviously, this evening. I know a lot of people turn around and say, look, why can't we get more out of our academy? Why can't we do more for local lads? The sort of truth in the matter is we do. We have a lot of them in there already, and there's a huge step up, and I think that not everyone realises that. And perhaps we don't get them in this year, but there's no reason after another year in the very good academy we have at the moment and the academy structure, they might be eligible to play. So we haven't given up all hope for them, and we do want to get them involved, and we have this year, I feel anyway.
Are you enjoying it still?
I'm enjoying it. I think my head was going to explode coming up to the close of the transfer window. I know Rennie and myself have torn lumps out of each other at this stage, but we're happy with the end product, and I think now that we're ready to go, we're excited, and that's reflected then with the 3 points up in St Pat's, so very positive at the moment from me.
Best of luck against Bowes.
Thank you very much. I think we might need it.
Alan Reynolds, how important is a night like tonight, 24/7?
Yeah, it's fantastic for everyone to come out and support it and get behind it. We'll wear it with pride. It's something that's badly needed in the southeast region, and I also said up there that a heart attack after 5:30 or 5 o'clock to chip to travel, it's not good enough.
It's a big step for any club to make effectively political statement, even though I know it doesn't breach any rules in terms of politics or anything like that, but it's a major social and political issue.
I think from talking to Willie and Mary, I think they need a little extra push again. Not just, I don't think this will be enough, you'll need more. So I think they're kind of worried that maybe they died off a little bit. So anything we as a club can do, our players, our management can do to help highlight it again and try and push it, we'll do.
A lot of people here tonight are a certain age where, God forbid, heart attacks are possibly more prevalent. But it can happen to anybody of any age. It's just not right. There's a morality here behind this.
Yeah, and I think they were talking about the amount of people, even the protests that have been on. You can see it. Look, you can say it, keep saying it's not acceptable in the region, and as you get older, but it can also happen to younger players, and I know some players have had to retire due to irregular heartbeats, etc. So it's a no-no. It has to happen.
Will you be wearing your hand on heart? Does it also inspire the team? I heard a few people referencing this, that it could be used also as an inspiration.
Yeah, it is, because we're representing a big cause here, and the players realise that and are delighted with it. So it is. It's as you say, it sends out a signal that come on, we have a big cause. The South East is behind you.
Best of luck. Are you going to go on against Bows? All right,
we'll beat them.
Will beat themselves, Rennie. So the Blues tonight against Bows tonight, big match. And like I said, George Corbett Motors is supporting our hurling coverage on the weekend, and tonight is Clem Jacob. Thank you very much for all the support. Dara Corcoran and the lads are going to be heading up to Sligo to play Sligo, the Waterford footballers. Here's a quick clip of Dara Corcoran talking to Matt Keane.
Obviously my first league campaign, but it's clear to see from the first 3 games there's absolutely nothing between the Division 4 teams. Limerick just pipped London by a point, and again in 2 of the games we played there was only a kick of score in it. Limerick bet us by a goal, Wexford by a point. It's just a bit of luck now. We're just waiting for us to turn, like against Wexford. Good second half performance. If we had played like that, as Benji said, 10 minutes of the second half in the first half, we would have won. Just little things like ball bouncing off one of our lads on the line in the last few minutes of the Wexford game, coming back out. So we're hoping just a little bit of luck will go our way eventually.
Up to Markovich Park now, a long journey. As I said to Frankie earlier on, it'd be brilliant to get the 2 points on the board and kick on.
Yeah, exactly. Talking and training during the week, Benji was saying that the league, you might think it's over, but you never know what will happen. It's all about that first win trying to get that could kickstart the league, and then obviously, as Frankie said, we're not looking too far ahead, but we've Limerick in the Munster quarter final. It's a nice incentive that if we won that, we'd get a semi-final in Fairfield again, so you never know what will happen.
You never know what will happen. Best of luck to Waterford hurlers, footballers, soccer players, everybody involved. Willie Moore, you were Derek Corkin's a good young lad there, St Saviour's man. You're involved with men's sheds and local things in Ballybeg. Waterford FC fundraising, what should they do? Tell me. This is a lovely idea.
I said it maybe 10-15 years ago, that if every pub nightclub in the city centre were to increase their, at that time now, with 20 cents a pint, and to keep the soccer club going at the time. And I looked last week at the Bows page in Dublin, and they have all the pubs in Phibsborough, and it's 50 cents a pint they're given towards the running of the club.
They're putting 50 cents on the price of the pint, and the money goes directly to the running of the football club.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is, yeah.
No, you're not going to miss 50 cents out of your...
No, and if you know it's going to support that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Nigel, you own the Spar in Ballybeg.
That's right, Damien, yes.
How long are you the owner of it?
I'm there 16 years now.
16 years?
16 years, yes.
You're beside Ryan's Pub.
Ryan's Pub.
What was Ryan's Pub? 10 years ago. We heard yesterday it was... there's big issues not big issues, but there's big plans for developing it, and people want to... It's been an eyesore. How difficult has it been to run a shop beside a burnt-out pub for 10 years?
Well, we got known as the shop beside the burnt-out pub. So when anybody ever asks me, where's your shop? It used to be where St Saviour's Church is, but now are you the shop beside the burnt-out pub? So that's the location we're known as.
Insurance?
Insurance, every year it becomes a headache for me trying to get insurance, because when they come out and they look at where my shop is, they go, it's right beside a burnt-out pub. You'll get a nice letter back saying thanks but no thanks. Luckily enough, some people have taken a chance and insured my shop so I can stay open, but it is difficult every year. It's actually a job for me to actually go and get insurance.
As we heard yesterday, everybody is in favour of doing something with the old pub and to actually make it, to get something done there. It depends what's going to go there. What's your views on it, Willie?
Look, like Nigel, I remember the Saturday morning I went down to the shop and the pub was burned to the ground. And there was a taxi man there at the time, Peter, he lost his business. I've been involved with trying to get the pub, something done with the pub for the last 10 years. And I was sick of ringing Liz Reddy here. When there was an election coming up, it was used. There were politicians standing outside the pub. They'll do this and they'll do that. Every group out there came to me through the Action Group, and I'm a founder member of the Action Group, and I sat on the Ballybeg Community Development for 24 years. They're all great people. They're all doing what they can for Ballybeg. And we've built it up down through the years. This is the one eyesore that we've left in it. And like Nigel said, Matt, if you're coming to Ballybeg playing a soccer match, we're St Saviour's, go up past the Burn pub, take a right and you're down there. If you're going down to the lads, and there's the Tony Forrestal tournament is a massive thing, and the lads in the J are running that. And when people are ringing them up, where do you go? Go down past the burnt out pub or on the right. We've a chance now to get something in that area there. Ballybeg at the minute is thriving. There's infrastructure going all around it. You go down to the end of Ballybeg in Lakenwood, they're building down there. You go across to Old Frisbee, he's putting 300 or 400 houses in, and you go down to David Flynn is building down there. This is the one black spot where we want to leave this in the area. I have a grandchild, she's making her confirmation in May this year. And all she's seen since she went to Saviour's, school in St Saviour's, is a burnt out pub. I have a grandchild, she's only 9 months old now. Do I want my grandchild going to St Saviour's and the same thing, she's looking at the same thing? I don't.
There's plans for an apartment complex, 40 apartments approximately. Correct. Are you in favour of it, Nigel? What do you think?
Yes, I am. I think it's a great idea. A couple of months ago, Michael Walsh, the builder, came to me with his actual vision for the whole area. And it was 45 apartments, 4-storey. And on the ground floor, I would move my shop in underneath the apartments. And he is looking to develop my existing building where he could look at putting in a doctor's surgery, an optician, a pharmacy, maybe even a small pub that, as myself and Willie were discussing, where the local clubs could convene and have a sandwich after a match, etc. It would just become a neighbourhood centre, become a heartbeat of Ballybeg. What's there at the moment, I have a shop, I have a lovely hairdressers and a beautician's inside in my store, whatever, but there is nothing else. And we have a burnt out pub, we have a taxi rank that used to be there, is now closed down because of the fire. It's there for development, and you know, to have a builder who wants to invest millions into Ballybeg, it's great for the area.
Willie?
Look, I'm not going to. I love Ballybeg. I love the Action Group. I love the people in the community centre. We've a chance here. Like, we're short of room within the community development out there, the Brill, right? We've an opportunity to sit down with the builder now and look at the second phase of what's going in. Okay, if the first phase doesn't go ahead, are we going to be left with an eyesore for the rest of our lives? I don't want to see that happening. I don't think any people out there, and I have people ringing me up saying, Willie, what's going on, this and that. The Action Group have done great work out there through the years. They've built Ballybeg up to what it is, and so has the Brill, and so has Glenn and the lads. But look, we need to all come together and sit down as a community and do what's best for the community. If the building that's going in there at the minute is too high, let's sit down and let's discuss it. Let's have an open forum about it, and let's bring Ballybeg forward. That's all anyone wants to do. We don't want to be falling out over the size of a building. Now, if it's so big, let the council decide. It's not going to go. But look, let's move forward. We've an opportunity here that we shouldn't pass by.
You'd agree, Nigel?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I'm there for the last 16 years, and I would never support anything which would be detriment to the Ballybeg area. I mean, it's my living. I have a lovely bunch of local staff that work for me. It's all our living there. So, I mean, we're pro Ballybeg. So,
couldn't have put it better. Nigel, thanks very much. Continued success, and out in Dunmore, the bottles.
Thanks a million. Cheers, Jamie.
Willie, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Continued success. We'll watch
and
this with interest, and we'll go out and do a little piece on you, okay, Witchy, okay? Thanks, folks. Coming up, property and also your text. Damien, will I be able to buy a jersey tonight? As a Kilkenny man, I'd be proud to wear the jersey. Yes, you'll be able to buy the jersey at the RSC tonight. Come on, the Blues! Now, welcome back. In a second, I'm going to be talking to Liz Pope. She's in studio with me. How are you, Liz?
Hi Damien, how are you?
Good, thank you, good. Firstly, a couple of texts. Jason Murphy has texted and he was on the programme yesterday. It's a huge vote of confidence in Ballybeg to develop that property. Damien, I can't remember what team it is. that are wearing Refugees Welcome on the team kit. That's the Bows away jersey. They're playing tonight, so you'll probably see it tonight. So it'll be interesting tonight. You'll have 24/7 cardiac care and the Refugees Welcome on the jerseys tonight. Damien, fair play to Waterford FC on this initiative, but does it have full support from other counties as well? Yes, they're trying to do that as well. And more texts about Caroline Flack. Liz Pope, CEO of the Property Registration Authority. Liz, thanks for coming in to join us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me here.
What is the Property Registration Authority?
OK, so the Property Registration Authority is the state organisation that is responsible for running the Land Registry and the Registry of Deeds. So many people would be aware of the Land Registry and Registry of Deeds if you've been looking up information in relation to property over the years, or if you've had a cause to buy a property or maybe take out a mortgage, or if you're the owner of a right of way, the owner of a legal right in property. You would have engaged of our services at some point over the years, maybe directly yourself by going online onto our website landdirect.ie, or you may have engaged the services of a solicitor to transact on your behalf. So many people are aware of who we are in the Land Registry and Registry of Deeds, wouldn't know the name Property Registration Authority.
Yeah, I've used the service myself. It's very, very good. How does the Property Registration Authority differ then?
OK, so the Property Registration Authority, as I said, manages the Land Registry and Registry of Deeds. The Land Register then is where we have title protected by the state. So you have your legal right protected by the state. 93% of the land mass is actually captured on the Land Register, 2.2 million titles on that. And we would register in the authority some 250,000 transactions annually on the Land Register. 250,000 transactions per annum, yeah. And then the Registry of Deeds goes back to 1707. The Land Register back to 1892. So we've been safeguarding property rights for a very long time. In the Registry of Deeds, there's a lot of historical research, and we would be promoting a lot of archival services through that, not only for title searching but also for exploring your archive. And we would have a big promotional and awareness campaign going on around the Registry of Deeds piece. But I'm really here today to talk about the register title and how you can protect your interest by registration, and how you can then help deter property frauds through our new service.
OK. Talk to me about this new service.
OK, so our new service is the Property Alert Service, and essentially it's a free service. That's the first thing I want to say. It's a free service that we have introduced last year, and it's in the early stages of development really, and we're trying to raise awareness of it, so by doing programmes such as this today. So what the service is you sign up on, it's a free online service. It's available through our portal or online landdirect.ie, and it is essentially a service where you can monitor up to 3 registered properties. So if you want to find out if somebody is making an application to change the land register, you can monitor up to 3 properties online. Very, very easy to access, so you can open an account very quickly. We're all very used to doing that, I suppose. On many other accounts, you open up a Land Direct account and you can then select the property that you want to monitor. So all of our property would be held you can on the spatial data register, so you can hover in over the property that you want to look at and then click up to 3 properties and register a land property alert on that.
So people just go online, landdirect.ie.
Landdirect.ie.
They'll literally be able to just navigate very easily through it.
Yeah, you proceed as a guest user and you have to open an account first.
Yeah, open an account.
When you open an account,
and again, that's free.
You get a password, just to make sure we have some security verification in that. Yeah. Then you can highlight up to 3 properties.
Okay.
So really, what this service is there for is to, maybe if I give you a very real example of what we're trying to deter against. So let's say, Damien, you own a property and you're living abroad and you have that property rented out. So that property could be very attractive for a fraudster if they potentially were a tenant living in your property and may be able to access information on you from a variety of different sources and somehow then steal your identity. So identity theft has happened in other jurisdictions. We haven't really seen that happening on the Irish Land Register, but we've seen it happen in other countries. And what we're trying to do is, get ahead of that and try and bring in a service that will help people protect themselves in that way. If somebody steals your identity, they can then maybe sell on the property or potentially mortgage the property and raise money as a result of that. Yeah. Then the true owner, you come back, you find out that the register has been changed, there's a new owner on the property, and then you have to take certain steps then to change the register back. It can be very cumbersome, it can be very, very expensive, and can, usually needs you to go to court to get an order of rectification. So what this service does, it's an early warning signal telling you, if you're living abroad, you get a text on your phone, tells you something has happened with your property. You know the way we do at our banks sometimes, you get a text to tell you something's happened in your account and you need to say yes or no if it's not you. So it's the same with this. You'll get a text to your phone or you get an email telling you an application has come in to change the register. If you've done that with a solicitor, that's fine. You don't need to do anything else. But if you haven't and you suspect there might be fraudulent activity, it gives you an early warning signal to do something about it and take the next necessary steps. So the Property Registration Authority can't do anything on your behalf. in terms of taking that further, but it gives you that opportunity to either go to the Gardaí or go to your solicitor and say, look, what's happened here? I need to investigate further, and then you can get on to us as well to let us know what's happening.
You get some shock, wouldn't you? If
you would, and it has happened in other countries where people have come back and found somebody else living on their property. As I said, it's a very rare occurrence, but it is something that is real and could happen, and this is something that we can introduce as an early warning system. Essentially, it's not that we can, as I said, prevent the fraud, but we can assist property owners in helping them protect themselves. So I suppose in the same way as if a burglar is looking at two houses and one has an alarm on the house and one doesn't, the burglar is going to obviously go with the one that doesn't have the alarm. The whole value of this service is really going to be the amount of people that sign up to it, because a potential fraudster will never know which properties are under Property Alert service or not. So the more people listen, the more people are tuned in, the more people sign up to this service, the better. Now, it's up to 3 properties. It's really, as I said, aimed at people who are not in possession, but it is available to anyone to sign up for. So again, we would see another vulnerable category might be perhaps the elderly. So if somebody's in nursing care, for example, and a son or daughter would like to monitor the property, if the property happens to be vacant and they're not living nearby, and they just might want to get a text on behalf of their parent, you don't have to actually be the registered owner to sign up to the service. And I suppose it's important to say that that you can monitor a property on behalf of somebody else.
Yeah, so it's not a security. It's not if somebody's breaking in. It's not. So it's if somebody is looking to change the registrations or the status of that property unbeknownst to the owner.
Yes, because when you change the register, you are acquiring a legal right that's very difficult to overturn, and we can't unilaterally overturn registration rights within the authority itself. You know, it takes, for the most part, a court order to overturn registration, a very serious step that you would have to take afterwards.
Yeah, so let's say Mammy and Daddy are in a nursing home and siblings are squabbling, and you're worried that one of your brothers or sisters is going to literally try to change the deeds and the status of the property before the parents die. You can just go on this Property Alert, click on it, and if he or she tries to do that, you'll know that.
Exactly. You will get an alert to tell you that somebody has lodged an application with the Property Registration Authority to change the register. It just gives you the bare details. Obviously, there's a limit on what we can say in terms of data protection, but it will tell you that an application has been lodged.
And then you can follow it up.
And the kind of application that it is, and you can take the next steps. So it really is to just help people protect themselves and their registered property interests.
I'd say there's people out there now listening to this saying, that's a great idea.
Well, I hope so. We're hoping to spread awareness of the service and that we will encourage people to take it up. As I said, it's a no-brainer in terms of it's free. You can monitor up to 3 properties and it lasts for 10 years, so you don't have to go on every 6 months or every year to maintain it and monitor it. If you want to come off the service at any point, you can click into the guest account very easily again and de-alert, I suppose, the property alert.
So give me the details again. Landdirect.ie.
Landdirect.ie. You log on to landdirect.ie. You then proceed to as a guest user. Then you open up an account, you register for a Property Alert account, and that asks you to enter in your name and your email address. And then we will send some verification details to your phone, again, to allow you to create the account. Once you get into the account, then you hover around until you find the property that you want. So you can go in through the spatial data, through the map, or you can go in through AirCode or Geodirectory to find the property that you wish to monitor to make sure it's the correct one.
OK. And also, if you have a bit of... Does it apply to land as well? It's property.
It's property,
it's all property.
So
if you're thinking somebody's going to buy a field, there's a field out there, I think Johnny up the road is looking at buying that field. I want to make sure that if he's looking at buying that field, I want to get in there ahead of him or at the same time as him.
Again, it could be used for that purpose. It's primarily a counter-fraud service, but it could be used for that purpose because this information is actually available on our website anyway. It's available on Land Direct anyway. It's just an earlier warning signal of this, but it only applies to registered land. That is the important point. Like if the land is in the deed system, in the unregistered title system, we obviously can't locate it or track it or be able to put an alert on it. So it's really only available to registered land users or registered properties, I should say.
Registered properties. And it doesn't have to be your own property.
But it doesn't have to be your own property, no. Anybody can monitor a property. So
it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
The reason for that is, we wanted to make it easy, simple, and that we want to make sure that we, as far as possible, can help prevent.
And how's it going so far?
Transactions. We are having some interest in it. We do need to raise the awareness more. So we're going to be going out doing a media campaign and trying to raise awareness of the service and to encourage people to, if you know somebody in this category where there's, somebody is abroad or elderly, and again, if you're not registered, I suppose the next step is to say, should I register my property? You can voluntarily apply for first registration as well. So there'd be 3 key messages I would say out of this really. Is the first one is, go on to Land Direct, look up your property, see if it's registered or not registered. Secondly, then, if it's not registered, consider first registration. Once you're registered, make sure your details are up to date, that you have the right address and notification details on the registered property on the folio. And then the main thing is, if you would consider signing up for Property Alert, it's free, it's simple, and it lasts for 10 years.
Liz Pope, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and thank you very much for having me here
Not
today.
Not at all,
Damien.
it's great. Good luck with the campaign. Yeah. We'll put more details up on the website, and thanks very much.
Great, thanks.
Maybe come back to us again in the future.
I will
and
do,
let
I'd
us
love
know,
to. Yeah, it'd be great.
Any little stories about things. Thanks, Liz.
Damien,
thank you. How's it going? Laura, how are you?
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Not at all, thank you for coming in. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
How are you?
I'm good, I'm tired, but tired in a good way.
How's the Dáil?
It's very exciting and quite boring both at the same time. So the first sitting was yesterday, and that was an amazing moment. I got to bring my family up, my wife and my parents, and to be called kind of out into the register at the Dáil was amazing. Very humbling moment. But then very quickly, I suppose, we went into people taking their 3 minutes each to do their usual spiel about whatever else. So it's funny how something so amazing and something that you've never been in before can become you can become accustomed to it so quickly, I suppose.
And tell me, Laura Swift.
That's right.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Where are you from? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I've been living in Tramore all my life, having moved there at age 2, so I'm real local. My dad is from Barrack Street originally. So
Brian Swift?
Brother.
Yeah. So was there a Fianna Fáil in the background?
Yes, obviously with Brian, yeah. But there's a bit of Fine Gael if you go back to on the other side.
All right, okay.
So I'm told anyway. But yeah, no, I'm really happy that, to be with the Greens at this stage, because they would reflect my interests and the things I'm interested in.
Okay, because we're going to reveal you here this morning as the new Green Party councillor.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yes, I'm delighted to take over from Mark, who's gone on to bigger and better things. And I hope it'll be a successful, job for me. It'll be very new, obviously, so it'll take me a while to, I suppose, find my feet. But I'm really looking forward to it. And the party have been very strong about supporting me, and there's a lot of expertise there and that. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
And Mark O'Cahasig is with me, our new Green Party TD. Mark, why did you pick Laura?
Well, now, I didn't pick Laura personally, so we had an open process. It's how the Green Party works. We had an open process where anybody within the local area could be nominated. We actually had a number of people who went forward, and Laura was selected after a selection convention.
Okay, so was there a vote?
There was a vote in the end, but I think it's a sign of a healthy branch.
Oh yeah, yeah. So how many would have been in the room to vote, or is it just everybody come together?
There was 16, I think. I think there were 16 votes, and we all submitted a sort of a mini manifesto online a few days before the vote.
Okay.
And then we gave a little spiel on the night for 5 minutes, and Dan Boyle from Cork came down, and he was the returning officer.
Yes.
And so we all had a chance to talk and put forward our proposals.
And how many candidates were there, Laura?
4.
4 altogether.
4 went, yeah.
4 went forward.
Yeah.
And so we were delighted in the end, because Laura is overly modest, and it's one of the things as a local politician she's going to have to get over. But Laura has a fantastic background in the arts, in law. She's a practicing mediator, and I think something that will wrong foot many of the Green Party critics is she's also a cattle farmer. So she has the full package. An extremely competent person. We're also delighted, actually, nationally, because we have 9 co-options happening nationally, and we're delighted that 8 of them are women. And I'm delighted that we have a slightly better representation now in Waterford County Council, or City and County Council. We're going from 2 to 3 female councillors. I'm not sure I haven't heard who Matt Shanahan is co-opting yet. So it's good to have a little bit of a better gender balance. We're still nowhere close to where we need
I have
to be.
2 names that I've heard, two women as well, so that may be the case, but I'm not going to confirm those yet here this morning. So, Laura Swift, you're an arts graduate?
That's right. I studied fine art initially, and then I moved and did history of art and English in UCD. I did a HDIP, so I did some secondary teaching, and I moved on then. I suppose when I qualified then, it was the time of the last recession when all the big cuts were happening back then, so it was difficult to get a permanent job. So I emigrated for a while. When I came back then, I studied law, and I worked as a solicitor between Wexford and Waterford for about 10 years.
And you're running the farm, is it? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I married Richard, my husband, who was a dairy farmer who very sadly passed away in 2009. So I still miss him a lot. And
must have been quite young, was he?
He was only 58, yeah.
Ah.
That was very sad. So that's how I ended up running the farm. I kept it on. I changed from dairy to cattle, and so I'm still there basically. I have mostly dry stock now, and I breed some pedigree Hereford cows, calves.
Must have been very difficult.
Extremely difficult, yeah. But your head is in a bit of a spin at the time, and
I can still hear the emotion in your voice as well.
No, when I think about him, it was so young. It's just so sad, and he was a really full of life kind of person, and he really worked hard, and it was, yeah. So anyway, as I say, he got me into it, and I really loved working with him on the farm with the animals and that, and so I have kept it on since.
And do you run
day to day? Yeah, I'm hands-on. Yeah,
hands-on every day.
Look at my hands, you'll see.
And do you run the farm in the best practices of Green Party politics?
Well, I try. I try to be kind to the animals. I make sure they're well fed and watered, and I think that's one of the most important things. Keep them healthy and keep them with company. I always think it's kind of sad when you see animals on their own. It's one of the things I think that animals hate more than anything is being on their own. So, I do my best. And
have you always been imbued with a sense of politics? Or is this something that's come upon you now?
Yeah, I think it was kind of in our family. We always got the two newspapers on Sunday, the Irish one and the English one. And there would always have been a great, sense of what's going on. And when Brian got involved, then I suppose you'd know your family automatically, kind of, they can't avoid it. So
did you ever think of getting involved in Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil?
When I was about 24, I think somebody approached me from Fianna Fáil about the council, and at that time I kind of felt I was very young. I didn't think I'd have the experience, and I didn't, so here I am 20 years later. Different party, but hopefully I'll do some good.
We'll have you in at some stage to talk specifically about what you want to do in the council, and we'll do a proper in-depth interview if that's okay with you, because we're not going to get enough time now. We just want to introduce you this morning. Mark, you're happy with Laura's anointment?
Absolutely. I mean, we had 4 great candidates go forward.
Who were the other 3?
You know yourself that I'm certainly not going to reveal that. But I have to say, the selection convention, it was contested in the right way as well. And the people who weren't selected were very gracious.
Well, I'd like to say commiserations to the other 3, Laura. Go on, tell us who the other 3 were. So say commiserations.
I'm new to this now, so
I'm
going to let Mark guide me on it.
Say nothing and keep saying it.
Say whatever you say.
The range of experience that Laura is bringing to the table, I think, is absolutely fantastic. To have that law background, the arts background, in my work in the council, I deliberately went after arts briefs because it was my own background. I'm not actually 100% sure whether, so for example, I was sitting on the board of Garter Lane. I'm not sure whether that's a straight replacement with Laura or whether there needs to be a process. That's something we'll work through with the council officials.
Yes.
But that legal background, that arts background, and something that I think we as the Greens need to be mindful of, and particularly as we move forward, we're talking about our carbon sequestration, we're talking about biodiversity, but Laura has that lived experience. So she is a cattle farmer, and she's able to bring that experience to the table, and I suppose educate some. I'm from a country background, but that's not at all the same as being a farmer. And so I think for Laura to bring that experience to the table and really help us understand where our policies need to improve, I think it's absolutely fantastic to see her there.
What do you think of Matt Shanahan joining this technical group with the likes of Dennis Naughton and Michael Lowry and Verona Murphy, Noel Grealish?
Matt will fight his own political battles. It's not a corner of the Dáil I would personally choose to be sitting in.
Laura, briefly in 1 minute, what's your hopes as a councillor in Waterford?
My hope would be to enhance the general environment of Waterford and to provide a place that's good to live in and that people can enjoy living in and live in a fair and just way. And that we would also be very mindful of our natural environment and, not spoil that. It's been under a lot of pressure for a long time, so I think it's time to give a bit back.
You're looking forward to the council meetings?
I am.
The cut and thrust.
We'll see, yeah. I might bring some of my mediation skills. That might be a bit ambitious, I don't know.
It might be nice to have a mediator to take a little bit of steam out of proceedings.
Maybe.
Mark O'Causey, congratulations. Thank you very much for joining us. Laura Swift, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're the new Green Party councillor
Yes.
in Waterford Council. We're going to hear a lot more from you. And like I said, we'll have you in maybe next week to do an in-depth interview without Mark being here. Okay, is that okay?
Maybe. Yeah, thanks.
Stay with us. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. Quick note, Luke Nugent from Kilgobnut is the mascot on Sunday for the Waterford-Galway match. Up to Deise from his mam. Yes, Luke, the very best of luck to you. And the price of the jerseys for Waterford FC, I'm not sure. I think they go 60 to 70 euros. They're quite expensive, but they're there tonight. Keep it here. We're going to be talking to you more about businesses in a second. Barry has texted that if Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil form a coalition, they'll disrespect those who died in the 1916 Rising and the Civil War. How easy it is to forget our country's history. They make me sick this morning. Damien Michael Doherty from Cheek Point came on your show November last talking about 1,500 jobs in Waterford. Any update? We're going to follow that up on Monday. Councillor Joe Kelly wants to wish Laura the very best in the council. Now, the Business Awards, today's category, Tourism Attraction. 3 nominees from West Waterford Festival of Food, Mount Congreve and the House of Waterford Crystal. Karen Tompkins has been finding out about these 3 amazing businesses in Waterford.
The Tourism Attraction Activity of the Year category is sponsored by Totem. First up, it's the West Waterford Festival of Food. Since it was first established in 2007, the West Waterford Festival of Food has drawn visitors locally, nationally and globally. Producers, makers, growers, brewers, distillers, chefs, mixologists and foodies come together to celebrate real food with real heart. Gemma Tipton, the CEO of the West Waterford Festival of Food, says it's not just about food, however.
One of the reasons it's so special is you just have to look around you when you get down here. We've got the most gorgeous setting. We've got the coast, we've got the greenway, we've got the mountains, we've got fabulous agricultural land, and all that means that the food that is produced here is really, really top quality, and that the people who have worked for years and generations even in making and producing food have given us what we celebrate at the festival. We're in our 13th year, which we're deciding is very lucky. The festival is running from the 17th to the 19th of April. Funny thing about organising it is it's also dependent on tides, which brings it right back home to what it's all about. There's a year-round festival office because we also feel very strongly that the people we're celebrating are working year-round. So while the festival is a very intense 3-day period, we're also looking after and developing pop-up events throughout the year. And there's a really great team. It's a very tight team of probably 1.5 during the year, or maybe just half, because we all have other things going on as well. And then it rises to a peak of over 100 in terms of the brilliant volunteers, the stewards. If you include the people who come and cook and exhibit at the market, we're into over 300. Last year, despite being completely threatened by Storm Hannah on the Friday night, which was something you can't plan for, even though we managed to, we had 37,000 people coming through. And that includes the events, the markets, the foraging walks, the cycles, everything. Well, I have to confess, I can't take credit for starting the festival. And again, it's one of the things that influences what it is today. It came out of the then County Council and also the community. So at the heart of the festival is the people that it's for are driving what it is, which is really special.
The 2020 festival runs from April 17th to 19th this year. As a tourism attraction, Gemma says it really opens people's eyes to West Waterford.
It's not just the town. The town is very wonderful, and I think everyone who comes to Dungarvan says, oh my God, why didn't we discover this sooner? And we say, well, you've discovered it now. Please tell your friends and tell the world. But we also spread along the Copper Coast, through the Blackwater Valley, along the Greenway. We've got so much on our doorsteps. And I also think people love discovering something new. So it's great to be able to tell people who mightn't have thought of coming here that really they're going to be grateful that they did. It's going to be very tasty. It's going to be surprises. It's going to be really good fun. You're going to have fun with your friends. You're going to meet new friends. You may find interesting new ways with fish that you'd never dreamed of. You might discover that vegan cooking is better crack than you'd imagined. And you're going to come away feeling like you've done something brand new in a really beautiful place.
Next in the category is Mount Congreve. A recent announcement of a €3.7 million Rural Regeneration Development Fund in conjunction with Fáilte Ireland has placed Mount Congreve as a key stakeholder in Ireland's ancient East. Last year was an eventful year for Mount Congreve Gardens, with new events added, extended opening times and guided tours. They have even more planned for this year. It's little wonder they've made the shortlist at the Waterford Business Awards. Ray Sinnott is the estate manager.
There are 80 acres and there are 8.5 gardeners. Now, it's a half because some people have time off and things like that. As anyone who has a garden will realise, if you don't cut the grass this Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever you're meant to cut it, you're going to have a bigger problem next week. So we're in that issue the whole time. Now, our gardeners, and by gardeners I include all of us, I like to get out and do some of the work as well. So it's a huge undertaking, and it's the dedication of the staff that we have out there that has kept it up. 49,778 went through the gates last year. They weren't all paying visitors. We have that broken down further between visitors that come in from the Greenway just as a stop-off point, children that came in, tours that we did during the year, like our twilight tours or the biodiversity walks, which were free, that we could have more people in. But in total, just under 50,000 people came in to enjoy it. The highlights are the wall garden, of course, in the high season of the summer. And that is just a blaze of colour. Everywhere you look, there's just something fabulous. You will have in the early part of the year, which is just coming up to it now, we have our crocuses. So the Crocus Festival, we'll call it, is the first time we will be open that people can enjoy that, and it's a carpet of colour. Then you'll move into the spring, where we really come into our own with the camellias and the magnolias, the rhododendrons. They all take off at that point. Later on in the year, we have the maple lawn. But there's always something to see, because there's many architectural features out there as well, such as the pagoda, the rock waterfall, and to us, the plant lovers, just the structure of the plants, we consider them architectural plants.
The restoration of the gardens at Mount Congreve is creating a world-class tourism attraction for Waterford, and Ray Sinnott says it attracts every type of tourist.
We used to think it was the older people, it was the active retired, it was garden lovers, but it turns out that more of our visitors are younger, and young families in particular, because it's everybody. And I've got a daughter, and all you want to do is get them off the electronics and go outside for a walk. And to see the way they react when they're in a place like that is incredible. And I think that's somewhat been missing in the last few years. But it's our main audience, and our main target audience is young families, people with young families looking for a really enjoyable day out. People are now becoming aware of what we have here in Waterford, and they'll say this really is something unique, because it is. There is no garden like this in the country that has this kind of accessibility, with the Greenway, which has been a huge boost for us right alongside of us. We're a full 9 minutes drive, no matter how good or bad a drive we are, from the city centre. So I think that's why we've been included in this, that it's become obvious what a huge addition it is to Waterford, and Waterford City in particular.
And finally in this category, it's the House of Waterford Crystal. Overlooking the historic district of the Viking Triangle, visitors to the globally renowned House of Waterford Crystal learn the history and the stories behind one of Ireland's most iconic brands. They can marvel at the skill of master craftsmen on a factory tour that showcases all stages in the creation of Waterford Crystal. David McCoy is Sales and Marketing Director. He says visitors love to meet the people behind the craft and see exquisite pieces of crystal Crystal on show within the largest display of Waterford crystal in the world.
In 2010 we opened a new facility. It's been a long journey rebuilding experience, and we do a lot of work in the international market. So essentially it's taken the home of the brand and targeting domestic and international consumers to come and visit us. It's a showcase for what we do, so they get an opportunity to see our production in terms of a lot of the giffer and drinks we produce in the factory, and they get a real insight into actually the magic of Waterford, how we manufacture crystal, how that legacy has been built over many years since 1783. So it's a really hands-on insight into what we do as a brand. Given that people travel from abroad and then travel down to Waterford, we want to make sure that they come and they're really surprised at what they get. It's better than they expected. So they leave with a really positive experience of us and our city, and also to promote us to go back home and say, if you're coming to Ireland, come to Waterford Crystal. It really is worth that trip down to Waterford. Well, in terms of one of our most popular patterns is Lismore, and we've 4 iterations of that pattern, which was initially designed in the 1950s. But a lot of people come on vacation, they're buying a little bit of indulgence for themselves. It could be a drinksware collection, it could be what's new in terms of gin. Gin has been quite popular this year, and rum is the next story, which is happening with a new collection in terms of rum. And they like to buy lots of gifts for acquaintance or family or friends. And the interesting thing we see also is that when people are on vacation, they're actually buying for Christmas as well. So they're away on vacation, they're looking for something a little bit unusual to say, I was on vacation in Ireland, I was in Waterford or in the city or the county, and I picked up something really unique. So it's that sort of thing where people are indulging themselves after a tough year on the vacation, looking for reasons to spoil themselves, and then at the same time they're looking for something unique to say, when I was away I bought this PFO when I was in Ireland.
David McCoy projects more growth for House of Waterford Crystal for 2020 and indeed for tourism in Waterford.
We grew our visitor numbers by 4%, so we just finished just over 210,000 visitors. Over 85% of our visitors come from abroad. So a lot of people who come, they're spending time in the country, so they're spending 7 to 10 days touring. So we get American visitors, we get Australian visitors, New Zealand, and we get European visitors tend to spend a week. And then in the summertime, when Irish people are taking time out, maybe a second holiday or a vacation in Waterford, Wexford or County Cork, they travel around the county, so they come into Waterford and spend a day. So in terms of our international business, has been very positive. We employ just 180 people between our factory, our group business, and people who are employed over the summertime to facilitate the tours and our retail business in Waterford. I think 2020 will be a good year. There will be some growth. I mean, we've come off the back of 7 or 8 years of growth internationally into Ireland. I think there's some concerns on the horizon, but I think the positive things are that there's lots of air access into Ireland, and primarily airlines have to sell seats. So whatever issues there are in terms of economic things kind of floating there, I think tourism will be positive. I think the outlook in terms of the capacity is there in accommodation and hotels.
And those are your nominees in the Tourism Attraction Activity of the Year category. The winner in this and all categories will be announced this day next week, Friday, February 28th, at the Waterford Business Awards gala function being held at the Tower Hotel.
Thank you very much for that. Really appreciated. Thank you very much for that. That is Karen. Best of luck to Laura in her new role in the council from Susan Gallagher. Others saying that the Greens abstained in the vote for Taoiseach last night. Mary said it's a brilliant idea to build the places out at Ryan's Pub, and others commenting and saying thanks to Liz Pope for a very informative interview. Thanks to Maria for producing today. Hope you're enjoying your day off, Julie. We are getting loads of music with Jeff coming up next. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care. Enjoy yourselves.